Good evening. Welcome to Northwest Tonight with Salim Patel.
And Annabelle Tiffin. Our top story. 28 years in jail for the killer who stabbed a man to death in a nightclub.
Carl Madigan was out on licence for a machete attack. Also tonight. Strikes compound Northern Rail's problems as rail groups meet with bosses to demand answers.
And fantastic beasts and where to find them. All the fun and drama of the Cheshire Show.
We were watching some sheep dance, which I have never experienced before in my life, so there you are.
A killer who stabbed a man through the heart has been jailed for at least 28 years. Carl Madigan was out on licence for a machete attack when he murdered Sam Cook in a Liverpool nightclub.
The judge urged all bars and clubs to install security arches, as Abby Jones reports.
About to read a statement no mother should ever have to give, paying tribute to her only child, murdered just 2 days after his 21st birthday.
Sam was a young, handsome man who had everything to live for. He had such a bright future ahead of him. Instead, we've been denied the chance to see him develop through different stages of his life. All snatched away in a few seconds, which has changed our lives forever.
Sam's killer, Carl Madigan, was out on licence when he murdered him, recently released from prison for attacking a man with a machete. Sam from Crosby was out celebrating his 21st birthday at the Empire Bar in Liverpool. When a man barged into his girlfriend, he was punched for trying to defend her. Madigan then joined in, stabbing Sam through the heart. He ditched the knife down a drain and continued partying at another nightclub. Sam's family are backing the city's No Knives campaign, but today they're mourning a son, brother, boyfriend who had his whole life ahead of him. Abby Jones, BBC Northwest Tonight, Liverpool.
A member of staff has been arrested on suspicion of rape at Forest Bank Prison in Salford. It follows a report that a woman was assaulted at the prison this weekend. The man has since been released under investigation.
Strikes are taking place on Northwest Ambulance Services today in a dispute over pay. Members of the GMB union will be walking out for 2 hours at the start of each day's shift. The service says it is disappointed in the action but has plans to minimise the impact.
Figures suggest Isle of Man Transport carried a record number of passengers during this year's TT Festival. The number of bus journeys increased by 11% on the previous year, and more visitors used the island's heritage transport.
The bosses of Northern Rail and TransPennine faced a grilling this afternoon over the chaotic state of the region's train services. The meeting was called by the rail watchdog Transport Focus.
It comes on a day of further misery for passengers as members of the RMT Rail Union staged the first of 3 one-day strikes this week. Here's our transport correspondent, Judy Hobson.
The head of Northern Rail under pressure. At a meeting this afternoon, the bosses of the main rail companies faced their passengers.
So it's not just about...
Please come to some of the question, please.
So the question is...
He didn't point the blame, but said back in January he knew timetable changes would be chaotic, but the company wasn't allowed more time.
But at that point, we requested the ability to keep the timetable that was in place and roll that forward into May.
Northern Rail's problems have partly been caused by delays in electrification schemes, and that's down to Network Rail, who said the upgrades would be finished in November.
Just before we were about to commission, we were faced with a beast from the east, and if there's one thing you don't want before you complete and commission a significant piece of infrastructure, it's an extreme weather event.
We say no to the OO.
Meanwhile, for Northern Rail passengers, more misery. On top of a disrupted service, the RMT union staged another day's strike over Northern's proposals for driver-only trains. But there's no sign of things returning to any kind of normality, just as there's no sign of anyone taking responsibility for the timetable chaos. Judy Hobson, BBC Northwest Tonight, Manchester.
Youngsters have been taking part in an event celebrating all things science in Manchester. The Great Science Share for Schools took place at Manchester University with around 700 children involved. The aim was to inspire youngsters into science and engineering and share their learning with others.
A barber from Burnley is playing his part in England's World Cup success. Simon Townley was invited to Russia to trim the hair of England footballers, including Gary Cahill and Phil Jones, who you can see here. He'll stay with the squad as long as they remain in the competition, which hopefully, after tomorrow, will be all the way to the final.
I've got Annabelle doing county show.
Should be the world record. No. Shall I carry on doing this one and then we... Yeah, a new world water speed record for battery-powered boats has been set on Coniston Water. An electric boat designed by Jaguar Vector Racing reached nearly 89 miles an hour during its record-breaking run. And I'll carry on. His Royal Highness, the Duke of Gloucester, was the guest of honour on the opening day of the Royal Cheshire County Show.
The Duke was among the tens of thousands who had turned out to the county show near Knutsford for the biggest event of its kind in the northwest. Mark Edwardson was there too.
As agricultural shows go, the Royal Cheshire County Show is a big one. 80,000 visitors over 2 days, hundreds of displays and, today, one special royal visitor.
It's a real agricultural show. I mean, quite a lot have subsided into something different, which makes them less special.
The show gained its royal approval 2 years ago. And it's now far more than farming. There's food, drink and entertainment alongside the prize bulls, sheep and ponies.
We were watching some sheep dance, which I have never experienced before in my life.
What's been the highlight for you so far?
The strawberries and the chocolate sauce. And not just one stick, 2 sticks.
In amongst the stalls and rings, the show is fundamentally farming's big blowout.
Whether you like the dog show, the horse show, 3,000 horses come to us, the pony club games we have here now, right through to the retail therapy.
The fun and games and the farming isn't over yet. The Royal Cheshire County Show continues tomorrow. Mark Edwardson, BBC North West Tonight at Tabley near Knutsford.
Very cute calves.
Now, before we go, I don't know about you, Annabelle, but I've certainly felt bloated before.
Yeah.
Spare a thought for Trevor the sausage dog.
Oh.
His tiny body expanded so much that he had to be deflated by vets in Cheshire. It was all because of a punctured windpipe, which meant Trevor's body filled with air, inflating him to 3 times his normal size. Thankfully, though, he's now on the mend and back to his slender, sausage-shaped self.
Poor Trevor. He looked very uncomfortable.
He did, but he's back to normal now, and hopefully we can never be in that position as him.
Yes, I wonder how they deflated him.
Yeah,
I thought about that.
Good question. Well, that's all for us from here. We'll be back at 10:30. Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.